It's a one-on-one. But now he's starting tomorrow. Until 2:15 every day. Oh, wow. And he starts saying more words. It's a little bit hard to understand. Right, but more verbal. Yeah. If you say something, you can say that. Okay. Yeah. It's a little better. Well, is he around very many kids? Well, when he goes to school, yeah, he loves kids. So this will be good. That's going to be a long day. Yeah. He naps like 3 hours. Is it Morgan County? And he will nap at school. Oh, okay. Everybody's right. That's a good thing. Let the record show at 6 o'clock. We'll call our meeting to order. Sarah, will you give the roll call, please?
Here.
Linda Barnhart.
Present.
Eric Goff.
Here.
Sir Cannon Norton.
Present.
Tim Lewis.
Present.
Daniel Bennett. Nick Deal.
Here.
Derek Smith.
Okay. We have a quorum this evening. The first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda, which has been sent to you. There's no changes in it that I'm aware of, so I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Deal, because he's on my right, not hearing him first, and I don't know who, and Mr. Goff on the second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved as submitted. The next item on the agenda is our sunshine law. That is an opportunity for you to come forward if you have something you wish to address the commission about, other than a project that's on the agenda tonight. If you have something you want to speak about, this is your opportunity to do that. You do, however, have to sign in a few minutes before the meeting. No one has signed in? Okay, we'll skip that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes. Those have been sent to you.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Goff to approve, second by Mr. Gokenhour. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, we have 3 public hearings this evening, and we will begin those. We will have those reports read to us, and then we'll go from there to see who wants to speak on the public hearing side.
The first public hearing tonight is a request for sketch plan advancement. The project is Kimpack Inc. File is 2110-399. The developer is Kimpack Inc. and the engineer is Dice Engineering. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 14, parcel 15.1. The site is located on the north side of Corning Way, approximately 1,200 feet of its intersection with Winchester Avenue. The project proposes a 25,000 square foot addition for phase 1 and a future 55,000 square foot addition, a 6,400 square foot office addition, and additional parking for phase 2 on approximately 21 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On December 28, 2021, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent Kimpack?
Good evening. I'm Denny Dunlap with Dice Engineering.
Thank you.
Also have Randy Dwayne and Andrew Keys from Kimpack here as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you want to
I'm going to excuse myself from voting.
let the record show that Mr. Lewis is going to recuse from voting due to conflict of interest, but he will remain in the room so that we have a quorum. This is a public hearing for Kimpack. If you have questions or comments regarding this project, please come forward, state your name, your address, and any comments you might have regarding this project.
Move public hearing be closed. Second.
Let the record show that there is no comment from the public. I have a motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Gokenhour to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of the representative or of the staff regarding this project?
Hearing none, ma'am, I make a motion that we accept staff recommendation for advancement of sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Second.
Have a motion, Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Deal, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to advance the sketch plat onto the preliminary plan stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
You back now with us? Okay. Let the record show that Mr. Lewis is back on board with us. Okay, the next item for public hearing is Cold Spring Run, Phase 5, lots 74 through 87.
Yes, this is a public hearing for a request for final plat approval. The project is Cold Spring Run, Phase 5, lots 74 through 87, file number 2109-338. The developer is Cold Spring Run LLC, and the engineer is D.A. Stansberry Engineering. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 10, parcel 57, and is located on Kelly Island Road, approximately 2,000 feet north of Painsford Road. This phase is proposing 22 residential lots on approximately 14 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of a surety in the amount of $288,132 even, plat to be released upon receipt of that surety.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Dirk Stansberry representing the project.
Okay, thank you. Again, this is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments regarding this project, this is your opportunity to make those comments known.
Hearing no comments, ma'am, make a motion that the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Let the record show that there is no comments from the public. Have a motion from Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff, to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Stansberry or of the staff?
If there are no questions, I'll make a motion that we accept staff recommendations for final plat approval contingent on receipt of surety in the amount of $288,132,000. Said plat to be released upon receipt of surety.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to grant final plat approval pending receipt of surety in the amount of $288,132. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You got it.
Thank you.
Okay, the last public hearing is Dillon Farm Estates, and that's got quite a few lots.
Yes, this is another request for final plat approval. The project is Dillon Farm Estates, Section 1, Phase 2, lots 23 through 55, 80 through 81, 90, 98 through 114, and 181 through 191. The file is 2110-380. The developer is SMR Holdings, and the engineer is Gordon and Associates. It's located in the Hedgesville District, tax map 28, parcel 1, and is located on the south side of Hedgesville Road, 0.4 miles northwest of Ridge Road. The developer is proposing 64 residential lots on 6.7 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon a receipt of surety in the amount of $830,786.40, plat to be released upon receipt of the surety, and completed developer's agreement.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to represent that project?
Jason Gerhardt.
Thank you. This is a public hearing for Dillon Farms. If you have questions or comments regarding this project, this is your opportunity to please come forward and make those known.
Seeing none, ma'am, make a motion that the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Okay, let the record show that there is no public comment. I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Lewis, to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions regarding the project?
No question, ma'am. I'll make a motion, we accept staff recommendation for final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $830,786.40. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety and completed developer's agreement.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to grant final plat approval contingent upon receipt in the amount of $830,786.40. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Got it.
Thank you.
Next, excuse me. Next item on the agenda is NVA Properties.
Yes, this is a request for preliminary final plat approval. The project is NVA Properties, filed 2111-407. The developer is NVA Properties LLC, and the surveyor is Ben Brashears. It's located in the Mill Creek District, tax map 17, parcel 26.2, and is located on the west side of Winchester Avenue at its intersection with Specs Run Road. This project proposes a 5-acre residential lot with a 9.3-acre residue to be served by public water and sewer. On January 13th, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project had been completed and was found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The project is found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary final plat.
Do we have anyone to represent the project this evening?
Ben Brashears with Martinsburg, Martinsburg.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Brashears or of the staff?
If there are no questions, I make a motion we accept staff recommendations for approval of the preliminary final plat.
Have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to to grant preliminary final plat approval for NVA Properties. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item is Wilson Project.
Yes, this next project is a request for preliminary final plat approval for Richard Wilson. The file is 2110-349 tied to 2111-422. The developer is Richard Wilson and the engineer is Morrison Ritchie Associates. It's located in the Mill Creek District, tax map 6, parcel 73, and is located at 496 Middleway Pike. The project seeks to record a 1.44 acre lot with an approximate 22.78 acre residue served by public water and sewer. On December 20th, 2021, the Planning Commission granted the developer a waiver to section 305.4.1 requiring a 2-acre minimum to proceed for a preliminary final plat. I'll make sure we go through and add that to the staff report as well. And then on February 2nd, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project had been completed and was found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The project is found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary final plat.
Do we have anyone to represent the project? Wilson.
Lynch Christian, I'm representing the owner.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have questions?
Hearing none, I'll make the motion that we accept staff recommendation for approval to the preliminary final plat.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to grant the preliminary final plat for Wilson Project. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Lots of artwork came along with that project. The next item is Potomac Station, and it's for final plat determination.
Yes, this is a request for final plat determination. The project is Potomac Station PUD, Phase 3, lots 229 through 236, files 2201-023. The developer is Panhandle Homes and the engineer is Fox & Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, map 14, parcel 3. It is located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Interstate 81 and Hammonds Mill Road. This final plat proposes 8 single-family attached lots on approximately 0.6 acres to be served by public water and sewer. 3 waivers were requested and granted on January 6, 2014. The waivers are as follows. The waivers are general to the Potomac Station PUD, and they're not necessarily specific to this section, but I'll read them off. Section 9.4.E.1, to reduce the required buffer between residential and commercial uses with the PUD from 50 feet to 25 feet. Table 8-1A8, to reduce the required parking for townhomes from 3 spaces per unit to 2.6 spaces per unit. And Table 8-1A.13.K, to reduce the required parking for theaters from 1 parking space per 2 seats to 1 parking space per 4.7 seats. County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter on January 25th, 2022, stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the March 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening. Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Thank you. Back in January of 14, as Ms. Hoffmaster mentioned, there were 3 waivers granted. So with Mr. Smith's approval of the project, it's taking into consideration those waivers, correct?
I think reviewed those waivers, they were already agreed to by
Right.
the planning conditions to review the plat based on forbearance.
Right. But because those waivers were granted, that's why it met the subdivision. Right.
Actually, Linda, the waivers that were mentioned had no impact on the 8 lots that we're looking at.
That's what she said.
They just follow the project with its
Yeah, that's what she said
entirety, but
earlier.
they don't have any impact on this small section.
I just want to make sure that everybody understands that it meets the subdivision regulations because the waivers were granted in 2014.
In this particular instance, and not to get too long-winded here, but even the parking, we didn't take advantage of the parking waiver or reduction that was granted in 2014.
Oh, you didn't?
Now, we parked this, it's an 8-stick town, or 8 townhouse lots. We have 2 on lot, and we build a small lot, proposing to build a small parking field. So it'll have 8 off-street parking spaces. So we didn't even really apply any of these waivers to the plat.
No half car needs to be parked anywhere, right?
I'm sorry?
No half car gets parked anywhere, right?
No half car. I can find that 26-inch plat.
Planning Commission members, do you have additional questions?
Hearing none, ma'am, I will make the motion that we accept staff recommendation for final plat determination and advertising for a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the March 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Lewis, and that is to accept the staff recommendation and to grant the final plat determination at a March 7 public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Martinsburg Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Yes, so I'm sure everyone's aware this is a little different than what you would usually see before you. I go ahead and read the staff report, and I can answer any other specific staff-related questions. Again, this is a recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The project is Martinsburg Seventh-day Adventist Church. File is 2201-017, tied to 2110-392. The owner is the Chesapeake Conference Association of Seventh-day Adventists, and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 36, parcel 11, and tax map 2, parcel 6.1. The property is located on the west side of Delmar Orchard Road, approximately 1,300 feet south of its intersection with Tuscarora Pike. The major plan change proposes the construction of a private elementary school building with associated infrastructure, including water and sewer line services, a drop-off area, parking, a playground, and a retaining wall. The applicant is requesting a special exception in accordance with Section 5023 of the Tuscarora Community Zoning Ordinance to construct a private school. Also, the application is requesting a variance to Section 6022, Table of Minimum Yard Requirements, which requires a front setback of 150 feet and a side setback of 100 feet. The applicant is proposing a front setback of 100 feet and a side setback of 44 feet. Table 5032 in the Tuscarora Community Zoning Ordinance permits the use of private elementary schools with the granting of a special exception by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Section 5023 states all special exception applications are referred to the Planning Commission for site plan review and recommendation before the public hearing by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Typically, a site plan wouldn't come before the Planning Commission before being deemed compliant by both the Planning and Engineering departments. In this case, the Planning and Engineering departments cannot deem the major plan change compliant before it's granted a special exception and variance by the Board of Zoning Appeals. This project would need to comply with the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance and Stormwater Ordinance before being advertised for a public hearing pursuant of major plan change approval. Staff does not have any concerns pertaining to the special exception use of a private elementary school, nor of the variance request to the setbacks required of the Tuscarora Community Zoning Ordinance. And I will reiterate, just for the record, the section of the Tuscarora zoning ordinance is a bit contradictory to what we normally see with the flow of site plan approval. I know it's probably pretty difficult to recommend something to the BZA without having major plan change approval. Staff, we just felt as if we can't necessarily get it to that major plan change approval point before the special exception is granted. So it's kind of a roundabout way, but it's the way that it's written.
Yes, I visited with Laura a little bit this afternoon, and as I understand it, the plan as it's submitted meets all the requirements of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance.
So I wouldn't say that. There's still outstanding comments from myself and Doug's review.
Oh, it will meet them.
But it will, yeah. If it was to come back before the Planning Commission and be advertised, it would have to meet all the requirements of our ordinance, which it will in order for it to even be approved. There's not that many outstanding comments, I don't think, from either side, but one of the major ones is the BZA special exception. So even depending on the BZA's stance, they would still have to come back to us for further review and then another public hearing for the Planning Commission.
Planning Commission members, do you have questions? I know you're biting at the bit to get up and tell us something. Come on.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Sure. We'd like to have you here.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Commission. Kenneth Barton, the law firm of Steptoe & Johnson, on behalf of the applicant. With me is Clint Rock, Fox & Associates, who's doing the design work. Also, just about everybody else in the room are members of the church. Mr. Norm Chestnut, who is the project director. Everyone else in the church, was raise your hands. Obviously, you can see that this is a project that's of great importance to the church. Just to give you a kind of a little picture of what it's going to look like, hopefully when we get it all approved, this is going, and the nice thing is this is going to be adjacent to the church. So this is a campus. If you've been down Delmore Orchard Road, the church currently sits there, and this open area has been adjacent to it for many, many years. The church, this has been, I think, a vision of the church since the first time it was up for a plan approval, which was back in 2011, and now we're 2013. There was another plan change, and now this is the one that gets the ball rolling. They have the money to be able to do it, and that's what's probably been holding up most things. It is kind of an awkward way that we're coming to this because we have to get a recommendation from you to go over to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and then assuming that they approve it, then we come back and we get through the process. So the church has every expectation that we're going to comply with the subdivision regulations And we also believe that both the variance and the special exception are appropriate, and we would request, so that our BZA meeting is the 23rd. So under the Tuscarora zoning ordinance, we would need a written recommendation from the Planning Commission by that time. Basically, as Laura's already told you, that a school, a private elementary school, is permitted as a special exception under the Tuscarora Community Zoning Ordinance. And basically, there's a standard in that ordinance as to what we need to comply with to get a special exception. And just to briefly just mention what they are. First of all, in that ordinance, this project has to be in harmony with the surrounding area. And clearly, this is a beautiful church campus. This is going to be what I think we all think we would like the comprehensive plan to point to. It's a church, a school, and everybody works together. The property, also the nature and the use of the school is not going to be a hindrance to any of the surrounding areas. I mean, across the street is an apartment complex. This is a partially commercial area. There will be buffers, as Clint will show you if you want to see. You've seen the plans. There's going to be plenty of buffers with the adjacent neighborhood. It is going to be in harmony. The school is not going to cause more fumes, noise, or any other violations of problem characteristics with any of the neighbors. Once again, it can't be possibly any worse than what's going on across the street. Parking is going to be adequate. That's an easy one. We've got plenty of space and there's plenty of parking. And there's going to be adequate public utilities. That's a no-brainer. So this is going to have public sewer and water, and it's going to be fine. So those would be the standards for you to consider for the recommendation to grant a special exception. And I am gratified that staff feels that this is something that's manageable and has requested your recommendation. The building restriction line is a little different. Frankly, if you look at the original plan, they're 5 feet. And normally, I think most commercial projects, it's a 5-foot side and front setback. But I'm going to let Clint take a second to tell you about the building restriction lines, if I can impose on you.
In 2013, major plan change was submitted for the school building, for the church property. That plan change was approved, showing 5-foot building restriction limits on all sides of the parcel that the school is located. Site work was conducted on the property, head grading, some mass excavation for the intention of building the school. Several of the utilities were also installed at that time. Obviously, the school building didn't move forward, but all the arrangements were made based on those setback requirements. Now we've submitted a plan change again for the proposed school building and found it subject to the minimum yard requirements of the Tuscarora Community Zoning Ordinance, which are significantly high. As was mentioned earlier, for an elementary school, we have a minimum required side yard of 100 feet, front yard of 150. The proposed building and the arrangements that were made to construct it where it's proposed would be most different. We are required to adhere to the minimum yard requirements of the Tuscarora. So that's why we, on behalf of the church, requested variances.
But those variances will also have to be approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals, correct?
Yes, with the recommendation coming from you. And basically, the standard for approval of a variance under this Tuscarora Act is a variance will be granted if it's not contrary to the public interest, and when due to special conditions, literal enforcement would create an unnecessary hardship. Here, this is it's off the main road, but you have to go up a hill to get onto the campus. So while it has frontage on Delmar Orchard Road, it's not sitting right on the road. So it's not contrary to the public interest. In fact, I would suggest that the public interest would be served in another educational opportunity for students. The special conditions in this instance was they've spent a lot of money already installing infrastructure and things, thinking there was a 5-foot setback, and it wasn't until, I think back in 2013, probably everybody forgot the Tuscarora zoning ordinance even existed, but they've put a lot of money into this, and it would be a unnecessary hardship to require them to do it, and it would be not harm any of the neighbors. And so we would respectfully request that the Planning Commission submit a recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals at its meeting on the 3rd to grant both the special exception and the variance. Thank you.
Planning Commission members, do you have questions?
I just wanted to say one thing too. Just to clarify, the setbacks and the buffers that are proposed with the major plan change comply with the Berkeley County subdivision regulation.
Do you have a plan if the Board of Zoning Appeals does not grant an exception?
Well, hope springs eternal that we won't have that problem. There are a number, frankly, there are a number of issues in play. First of all, you can always appeal what the BZA decides on the basis that it's wrong. Second, and I hope we don't have to have this discussion at some point, but I would suggest that there's potentially a situation where the church could argue that it is already vested because it has spent substantial amount of money based upon an approval that was granted to the Planning Commission several years ago. So there's another kind of vesting, not just when an applicant like this has expended serious amounts of money. But I hope we don't have that discussion. So what's Plan B? I really don't. I'm hoping that we don't have to have that argument, but you know.
Well, you know the Board of Zoning Appeals is a little temperamental right now.
I understand that, and
With
I'm
your
probably not one of their
previous
most favorite
experience.
people.
Yeah, with your
But
previous experience.
But I think this is a project. This is not just somebody who wants to put an office up or something like that. This is something that's going to be for children, and I think I'm hopeful that the BZA will see it our way at the end of the month. So hope springs eternal. We're going to say a few prayers before that happens.
Thank you. Okay, Planning Commission members, do you have questions that you'd like to ask?
I have a few questions that might be a little bit out of character, but I'm just sitting here wondering, what's the total acreage of the property?
10 acres.
And then approximate square footage of the school? And approximately how many children is estimated for the school? Thank you. Okay.
Teachers, students.
Thank you.
What's your enrollment now? 71? So you're busting at the seams, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, Planning Commission members, do you have additional questions? We will see this back here. So, take that into consideration with your motion.
Hearing no other questions, I'm prepared to make the motion that this project be moved forward to the Tuscarora Community Zoning Board of Zoning Appeals.
Second that.
Okay, I have a motion, Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Deal, to move the project forward to the Tuscarora Board of Zoning Appeals with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Madam President.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll see you again soon.
Hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming this evening. The next item on the agenda is the staff council discussion action motion. Yeah, we'll take a few minutes to exit the room.
That's Terry, dude.
Yeah.
They make it back to school.
I didn't see her. Who's that?
So this is I just,
Oh, I didn't
I'm
recognize.
fearful what
Oh, she said that. I was wondering, I thought that was his church. I didn't see him. But he's
Okay,
back.
so
Okay, go ahead.
the only item with the staff council discussion is approval for the 2022 Developers Roundtable meeting dates. The last sheet in the packet.
Do we have anybody that's really attending those now, other than
The last
staff?
one, we had, I'd say 10 to 12 people because it was ordinance related.
Okay.
So, we've,
Typically, it's 3, 2, 3.
but notice hasn't been kind of, strictly given out in a timely manner before, but we're trying to let people know what's going to be on the agenda at least a couple of weeks before the meetings pop up. Obviously with COVID, attendance was low too. But I think knowing that we're talking about ordinance related draft stuff, people have been coming to the meeting. So definitely the March 4th, probably the March 3rd will be mostly ordinance driven. And then I would look to see the end of the year. It'll probably be related to hopefully the adoption of the new ordinance and what comes with that and other things that'll probably pop up before now and then.
Do you have another meeting scheduled for a review of the subdivision regulations?
It's is it tomorrow or is it tonight?
Wednesday.
It's tomorrow then.
No, it's Wednesday.
It's the night. Yeah, in the morning or in the afternoon. I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Wednesday afternoon?
Oh, yeah, change it, didn't we?
We changed it up a few times, yeah.
What time?
So
2, 3.
it's at 3, yeah. But we'll knock out some stuff. Doug's been working on certain sections of the draft ordinance. I know probably all day today for the most part. I worked on some of the things to try to streamline my comments.
The flow charts worked out, I think, now between Laura and I. Now it's a matter of making the ordinance match it. The two things did not match up this morning, so.
Are you,
We adjusted some definitions, cleaned up some of those things. I think it's going well.
We're trying to make the verbiage as similar as it has been instead of completely changing up the names of the steps.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Very good.
There was just some things that they were calling, it just got way out of.
Well, I think that was some of the
common
comments.
person wouldn't be able to relate
Yeah.
unless you, and I don't mean it in a bad way, that's probably the wrong way to put it. And the meetings were quite, and the names were quite unwieldy.
I mean they were confusing for
Yeah, they were
us,
confusing for
to be
us.
honest. So
Yeah.
So we went back, we redid the flow chart, we checked all that, we simplified that. And then now it's just a matter of going into the ordinance, which is what I literally was starting on before I walked in here, was changing back the names and trying to get it to a simpler process. Like basically, you have a concept plan, a detailed site plan, and a final plat. That's it, other than a minor plat. We tried to keep those names simple, but these other names were just way too difficult. And the meaning was lost.
they were long.
Okay. And they're doing it in accordance to your liking, right?
Sure.
Very good.
I wasn't really a fan of it, either. I was just doing what was recommended. And I
Okay.
think the other thing that we changed, that is a big change from the old ordinance, is the concept plan, we have a public hearing. Then the detailed site plan, we have a public hearing. The final plan is a record plat. It does not have a public hearing.
It'll be reviewed
Yeah.
administratively
That-
through our
Quite
offices.
frankly, if you
That
had an
makes
issue
sense.
with final plat and said we don't like that,
Too
there's
bad.
really nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Nor Laura, because we've already
For
approved
the
it.
preliminary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've got those pieces put back together, and
That's
I think it's very clean. It's just a matter of just getting the edits in, which is what I try to push my reviews I had. So I had some days to go in and try to do my part to help her, because a lot of this now is back to the engineer. you know, a lot of the codes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Goff at 6:40 to adjourn. All those in favor, I need a second.
Second.
Ms. Norton will second that one, and all those in favor? Okay, see you folks next time. Be careful, don't get lost in there.